It's a trap!
That whole time I was watching the episode, I just wanted to shout out, "It's a trap! It's a trap! Don't go there!" I felt like everything Thrawn was doing was just trying to manipulate people, and they fell for it, the suckers. But I also think there's something else that might be going on with Thrawn. Let me know what your theories are down in the comments below for this episode, what you think is going to be coming up in that season finale. I'm going to share some of my theories with you later in this video, and see if you can guess, maybe, where my mind is at. See if you can psychically link with me. Alright, let's jump into it. This is going to be the quickest synopsis recap of an episode I've ever done. This is going to literally be like when you turn on the episode and it's like 20 seconds of just stuff that you remember from last episode. That's what we're going to do right now. But hopefully it won't be as annoying as I find that at the beginning of every episode. I don't know why, I just find it really annoying. General Syndulla almost loses her title, but is saved at the very last second by General Leia Organa. Oh, coming in quick with those C-3PO appearances, which I've loved. We'll talk about that in a bit. Despite Thrawn's best efforts, Ahsoka and Huyang actually managed to arrive on the planet's surface. Sabine is still pretty tight-lipped with Ezra about how she got there and what's the plan for getting back. After learning that Ahsoka was once the apprentice of General Anakin Skywalker of the Jedi Order, Thrawn, interestingly, chooses a more tactical approach to dealing with her, claiming that she is a dangerous and unpredictable threat. Ahsoka connects with Sabine through the Force, and which finally for Sabine, we're getting some Force action, and races to get to her as Thrawn attempts to eliminate a strike on both Sabine and Ahsoka, like, at the same time, so that, like, no one can do anything, but also being like, if it doesn't work, that's alright. I love how Thrawn has multiple plans. He's always like, plan A, plan B, plan C, plan F. It's like all the way through to Z. Yeah, I know I skipped some letters there. I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's how many plans he has. A whole alphabet full, feels like. After a brief, unfinished fight with Baylan Skoll, Ahsoka escapes, and she actually shows up just in the nick of time for the fight that is happening between the troopers and Shin, and then Ezra and the Noti and Sabine. I mean, the Noti are mostly hiding, but they're there too. Like, they got their slingshots. Thanks to Ahsoka's just right on time appearance, though, they end up winning the fight and the troopers retreat. Our heroes are reunited, but Thrawn has time on his side. Now he is almost fully loaded up with the cargo, which means that now he is almost ready and is definitely able to return home and leave this galaxy. Dun dun dun. What will happen? Also, how is Ezra going to react to this whole update of just what's going on? I need to know. I need to know. What is Baylan Skoll doing? Another big question I have. But let's talk about that. Let's get into some of the points that I noticed, some of the theories that I have, and just kind of what I thought of this entire episode. And before we do that, I would just like to remind you that here on the channel, we do have memberships. You, that's right, you could join our membership, our Fang Gang Elite Squad. We have two tiers. One is known as One of the Vampires. If you become one of the vampires, you get a cool little badge next to your name. You get emotes. You get to sleep at night knowing that you've supported the channel and help us make awesome content, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It's only $2 a month, just under $1.99. And then the other tier is our $4.99 tier, which gets you member exclusive videos, which we are trying to do once a week so far. Once we get out some stuff this week, more stuff, we will be once a week, and it's beautiful. So you should join up, check it out. Now let's get into it. All right, first things first. C-3PO! And I love that in the closed captions, it just says 3PO, like it's spelled out like T-H-R-E-E-P-I-O. Like, I just love that. It's also how they write it in the comics, and yeah, it just feels... it feels really good. Friends, if you're excited about C-3PO, and you're excited about the weird stigma that happens in that court proceeding where they're like, basically putting down droids and being like, this is a ridiculous interruption, this droid coming in, like, how dare, then you need to check out Dark Droids. We're going to be having the D Squad. I'm not caught up on Dark Droids right now. It is a Star Wars comic book event, but it's really, really great, and it focuses on droids. Yeah. C-3PO coming in was, basically it almost made me cry. I was on the verge of tears seeing C-3PO, and it was just so sweet, and I'm glad that basically General Leia was able to help out and say that she sanctioned the mission, which is not true. Well, as Syndulla says, well, I mean, eventually she did. This whole conversation is followed up by Mon Mothma asking General Syndulla what she actually thinks about the threat of Thrawn and like how bad is it. Because the thing that I like about Mon Mothma is that I feel like she's always like just trying to keep her finger on the pulse as much as possible. So even if it's something that other people around her are trying to dismiss, she's still, I don't know, she just feels like a person that's always open to multiple plans. She's kind of Thrawn-like, actually, now that I think about it. Like, obviously they're two very different characters, but I don't know. She just is kind of like a brave and sometimes brilliant strategist from what I've seen, which most of what I've seen is in the comics. So keep that in mind. And General Syndulla has a great line where she says, we should prepare for the worst and hope for the best. There's a few lines in here that I know just sound on paper like super like blah, blah, blah. But in the right circumstance, with the right people saying them, they just hit different. Like, wow. Like, that line hit me. When we cut to the ship, we get Ahsoka, who is obviously sailing through space inside this space whale, the Purrgil, waiting to get to her destination. And what is she doing while she's waiting? She's training with holograms that Anakin recorded for her, so that like she has like a holo Anakin who's telling her what to do and helping her to get prepared and helping to walk her through the movements. This also made me almost cry. This was just like, I don't know, really like an intimate moment I felt like we got with Ahsoka. This idea that Anakin did 20 recordings for her that she could just play. And the fact that she, in that moment, was like, I need to play this last one and hear it again. Like, there's just something really personal, obviously, about that. And I just felt really connected to Ahsoka's character in that moment. I just love, like, all these little deep cuts we're getting as it takes us back in time. And these characters, I feel like, are really well-rounded. Can I just say? I feel like every character in this show just has layers. Even when people are bad guys, even when people are kind of being dinguses, they're still, like, deep. They're not just one note. And I love that about this show so much. I really appreciate all of the character work that's been put in here. Adding to some really great character work, we have some fun dialogue between Huyang and Ahsoka as they are... Well, Huyang thinks they're slowing down so that they're arriving at their destination. And they're just talking about, like, what we're gonna do when we get there. Like, Huyang's like, oh, if we're even at the right place. And just hearing their banter, oh man, there's just great chemistry between Rosario Dawson and David Tennant. Clearly, they did their homework and it shows. Which brings me to another one of my points. Rosario Dawson is maybe, like, I know we're all obsessed with Ray Stevenson. I understand. I respect. I agree. But Rosario Dawson really needs some props for this show because she is crushing it. The scene as well when she is force connecting with Sabine, just the look in her eyes. It's like all she has to do is slightly change her eyes and it's like a whole other emotion. I don't even know if I can do what she was doing. It's like blew my mind. Blew my mind. There's a lot of fantastic acting happening in this show. I think we all agree with that. But in case you didn't know, that's the obvious thing. And I'm telling you anyways. So one of my theories involves, well, it's not, I don't know if it's really a theory. It's just a thought that I had. So I thought it was interesting, obviously, when Thrawn knows, for those that aren't aware of this, I know this, that Thrawn is aware that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. He's one of the few people, possibly like, yeah, one of the few people, there's not that many, that know of that truth. So when he hears that Ahsoka was the apprentice of General Anakin Skywalker, Obviously, that's going to change the way that he thinks about Ahsoka. But what I'm wondering is he trying to find like kind of a sneaky way to spare Ahsoka because of his friendship with Vader? Was he afraid of Vader? Thrawn doesn't strike me as the guy that would have been afraid of Vader. I don't know. I just don't know. I haven't read everything. This is where I would love other people's insight. And let me know what you're thinking about that choice. And whether or not you think it's purely tactical or there's some other connection there that is affecting Thrawn's judgment. I'm really curious to see what Thrawn's next moves are. And I'm also really curious to see the actual confrontation that's going to happen between Ezra and Sabine. Although I will say, I feel like Ezra actually might not take it as bad as I was thinking initially, just because the fact that Sabine doesn't want to tell him anything isn't even seemingly shaking him. Like, he just seems like, I mean, you got to tell me at some point. But at the same time, like, if you don't want to talk about it, like, we don't have to talk about it. Like, he just seems so respectful of her telling him nothing. Which is interesting, and I think speaks a lot to their relationship, that he really trusts Sabine to say what needs to be said and also wants to respect her sense of privacy, even when it involves him this deeply. So Ezra and Sabine do end up getting sort of ambushed near the end of this episode. And Baylan and Shin are basically tasked with like going to get them. Baylan decides to dip, which is its own thing. What is happening with Baylan Skoll? What's he here for? I feel like I have a pretty okay sense of like what he's like as a person and like why he does what he does. But in terms of what his actual physical goal is, to bring Thrawn back to the... I'm not sure if I believe it. Like, I just feel like something else is going on with him, and it's going to be revealed in the last episode. I don't know if it has to do with the power that he was feeling on the planet, or he doesn't seem to be someone that's hungry for power. I don't know. He's very cryptic, and I just feel like when he was talking about, like, how he kind of wants to, like, break the wheel, I'm wondering if he has some sort of bigger ambition. Like, I don't know, destroying the galaxy? I don't know, but something's going on, and I need to know about it. I think his line that he says to Shin before she goes in to attack Ezra and Sabine, because she basically has to go it alone because Baylan's like, I'm going to split. This is where our paths separate, but I'm going to give you one last piece of advice. And he says, impatience for victory will guarantee defeat. And I was wondering if that was going to play into what happens to Shin, but I think it's actually telling us more about Baylan. So I wonder if all this time he's been buying time for whatever he's planning. And then maybe we're going to see that next episode. What if the big bad is actually Baylan Skoll? Would that be weird? Would we like that? I'd kind of like it. And like Thrawn and Ahsoka have to like unite. I don't know. This might be totally a terrible theory, but that's where my mind is going right now. In the fight that ends up happening, the Noti also sadly get pulled into the fight. I gotta say, the Noti I feel like are what we wanted Jar Jar Binks to be like, but this is like if you did that like really well. No offense to Jar Jar Binks. I love Jar Jar Binks personally, but I think this is more what they were kind of trying to go for, and this is like hitting all the right notes. For me anyways. I don't know how other people feel about the Noti, but the part where they pulls out the little slingshot, one of the Noti pulls out a slingshot and just fires. I was like, this is too cute. This Noti with a slingshot. I mean, honestly though, slingshots are awesome, so... And it would hurt to be hit by one if you did it properly, which it looked like the Noti was doing, so... Ouch. Maybe not in a blaster fight, but, you know, ouch. I love how Ezra also chooses to not fight with his lightsaber. Like, I wonder if he's kind of become more peaceful. He does have a blaster later in the fight that he grabs off a trooper, but that was an interesting choice. And I was like, I love also this, you know, this sort of comparison of you have Ezra, who's, like, really strong with the Force, and then Sabine, who's, like, barely Force able to do anything, not Force sensitive, kind of clumsy with a lightsaber, but is a good fighter. I just liked that contrast. I thought that was really fun. In the fight, I did notice that the troopers with their like bandages on their armor, which like we were talking about how cool those look. In the wind, they don't look so cool. They're just like blowing around. It just looks like they wrap themselves up in like, I don't know, tissue paper or something. What's up with that? Am I the only one that noticed that? I don't know. I'm not trying to pick on Ahsoka. I think this is a great show overall. But I just observed it and I thought it looked kind of silly. So I'm sharing that. My final point is the Ahsoka badass moment, which I think for me in this episode, although there were a few that we could have picked from, was Ahsoka jumping out of a spaceship at like that is going fast onto ground below her. That was crazy to me. And the fact that like she establishes that basically at the beginning of the series when she was on that planet, and then when Huyang came to pick her up, the implication to me from that was that that was basically what they did that first time that we saw Ahsoka. So that's how she got there. So also establishing that this isn't just like a, oh, I guess I'll have to do this. It's like literally Ahsoka's move. Like she's like, oh, you know, I'll just jump out of this spaceship and then land and roll and be fine. What? Girl? What? Like, I know you're low to the ground, but geez. That's badass. Alright, that's all I have to say. I should go. This video's too long. But I had a lot to say because I really like this episode. This episode was really good. I think, I don't know if it tops the arrival of Thrawn, because that was pretty crazy, but what did I say last time? Did I give it like a 10? This has got to be like a solid 8. Maybe an 8.5. 8.5 Enoch masks out of 10. Yeah, somewhere between 8 and 9. I'm between that. I could see it also being 9. I think the next episode's really gonna cement everything. I mean, it's all the ending, so much rides on the ending, but I think it's gonna be amazing. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Let me know your theories in the comments. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay nerdy, friends.